Hi, I'm Ms. Hartley at Easley Elementary in Durham, North Carolina, and welcome to First Chapter Fridays. In First Chapter Fridays, we read the first chapter of a book that's great for 4th and 5th grade. So if you like what you hear, you can come to the library and check it out. Today we have Wish by Barbara O'Connor. And this is a story about how we all have times in our lives that are times of struggle and that we wish that we could change. But sometimes if we just focus on the wishing, we miss opportunities around us and good things around us. So will a new friend and a stray dog help Charlie adjust to her new life, or will she get stuck in wishing? Let's find out. I looked down at the paper on my desk, the Getting to Know You paper. At the top, Mrs. Willoughby had written, Charlemagne Reese. I put a big X over Charlemagne and wrote Charlie. Charlie is my name. Charlemagne is a dumb name for a girl, and I have told my mama that about a gazillion times. I looked around me at all the hillbilly kids doing math in their workbooks. My best friend, Elvina, she had told me that they would be hillbilly kids. You'll hate it in Colby, she said. There's just red dirt roads and hillbilly kids there. She had flipped her hair over her shoulder, and she added, I bet they eat squirrels. I glanced at the lunch boxes under the desks around me, and I wondered if there were any squirrels in them. I looked back down at the paper in front of me. I was supposed to fill in all this stuff so my new teacher could get to know me. On the line beside Describe your family, I wrote Bad. What is your favorite subject in school? None. List 3 of your favorite activities. Soccer, ballet, and fighting. 2 of those favorite activities were lies, but one of them was the truth. I am fond of fighting. My sister, Jackie, inherited Daddy's inky black hair, and I inherited his fiery red temper. If I had a nickel for every time I heard, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I'd be rich. Daddy fights so much that everybody calls him Scrappy. And in fact, at this very minute, while I am stuck here in Colby, North Carolina, surrounded by hillbilly kids, old Scrappy is back in Raleigh in the county jail again because of his fondness for fighting. And I don't need a crystal ball to know that at this very minute, at our house in Raleigh, smack dab in the middle of the day, Mama is in bed with the curtains drawn and empty soda cans on the nightstand. She'll stay in that bed all the livelong day. And if I were there, she wouldn't care one bit if I went to school or stayed on the couch watching TV and eating cookies for lunch. Oh, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, that social services lady said when she rattled off her reasons why I was getting shipped off to this sorry excuse of a town with 2 people I didn't even know. It's better to stay with kin, she told me. Gus and Bertha are kin. What kind of kin? I asked. Well, she explained how Bertha is Mama's sister and Gus is her husband. And she said they didn't have any kids of their own and they were happy to take me in. Well, how come then Jackie gets to stay with Carol Lee? I've asked about a million times. Carol Lee is Jackie's best friend. She lives in a fancy brick house with a swimming pool. Her mama gets out of bed every morning, and her daddy is not called Scrappy. So that lady told me again how Jackie was practically a grown-up and that she would be graduating from high school in a couple of months. And when I pointed out that I was in the 5th grade and I'm not exactly a baby, she sighed and she put on a fake smile and said, Charlie, you'll have to live with Gus and Bertha for a while. I had never laid eyes on these people, and now I'm supposed to live with them? When I asked how long I had to be there, she said, until things settled down and Mama got her feet on the ground. Well, how hard is it to put your dang feet on the ground, is what I thought about that. You need a stable family environment, she told me, but I know what she really meant was, you need a family that's not all broken like yours is. Still, I whined and argued, but here I am in Colby, North Carolina, staring down at this Getting to Know You paper. Have you finished, Charlemagne? Mrs. Willoughby was suddenly beside me. My name is Charlie, I said, and a greasy-haired boy in front of the class let out a sputtering laugh. I sent one of my famous glares his way until he hushed up and turned red. I handed Mrs. Willoughby that paper, and I watched her eyes dart back and forth as she read it. Her neck got splotchy red, and the corners of her mouth twitched. She didn't even look at me before she marched back up to the front of the room and dropped that paper on her desk like it was a hot potato. I slumped down on my seat, and I wiped my sweaty palms on my shorts. It was only April, but it was already as hot as blazes. "Do you want me to help you with that?" The boy in front of me pointed at the math worksheet on my desk. He had red hair, and he wore ugly black glasses. "No," I said. He shrugged, took a pencil out of his desk, and he headed up to the pencil sharpener. Up, down, up, down. That's how he walked, like one leg was shorter than the other. And he dragged one foot along the floor, so his sneaker made all these squeaking noises. I glanced at the clock. Oh, dang it! I had missed 11:11. I have a list of all the ways there are to make a wish, like seeing a white horse or blowing a dandelion. Looking at a clock at exactly 11:11 is on my list. I learned that from some old man who owned the bait and tackle shop out by the lake where Scrappy and I used to go fishing. Now that I'd missed 11:11, I was going to have to find another way to get in my wish for the day. I hadn't missed one single day of making my wish since the end of 4th grade, and I sure didn't want to miss one now. Then Mrs. Willoughby noticed that the red-headed boy sharpening his pencil and said, "Oh, Howard, why don't you be Charlie's backpack buddy for a while?" Mrs. Willoughby explained that when a new kid comes to school, their backpack buddy shows them around and tells them the rules until they get settled. Howard grinned and said, "Yes, ma'am," and that was that. I had a backpack buddy, whether I wanted one or not. The rest of the afternoon creeped along so slow I could hardly stand it. I stared out the window while the kids take turns bragging about their social studies projects. A misty rain had began to fall, and dark gray clouds hovered over the tops of the mountains in the distance. When the bell finally rang, I hightailed it out of there, and I headed for the bus. I hurried up the aisle, and I dropped into the last row. I kept my eyes on a piece of dried-up chewing gum stuck to the seat in front of me while I sent the thoughts of a laser zipping and zapping around the bus. Don't sit next to me. Don't sit next to me. Don't sit next to me. If I had to be stuck on a bus full of kids I didn't even know, at least I wanted to sit by myself. My laser thoughts seemed to be working, so I took my eyes off the gum and I glanced out the window. The red-headed boy with the up-and-down walk was hurrying towards the bus with his backpack bouncing against him with every step. When he got on the bus, I quickly looked back at the gum and I sent out my laser thoughts again. But that boy, he didn't waste a minute, shuffling right up the aisle and plopping himself right down next to me. Then he thrust his hand out at me and said, "Hi, I'm Howard Odom." He pushed his ugly black glasses up and said, "Your backpack buddy." What kind of kid shakes hands like that? No kid I ever knew. He kept his hand there, and he stared me down until I couldn't help myself. I shook hands with him. "Charlie Reese," I said. "Where are you from?" "Raleigh." "Why are you here?" He sure was nosy, but I figured if I laid out the cold, hard truth, that would shut him up, and then maybe he wouldn't want to be my backpack buddy anymore. "My daddy's in jail, and my mama won't get out of bed." Well, that boy didn't even blink an eye. "Well, what's he in jail for?" "Fighting." "Why?" "What do you mean?" He wiped at the fogged-up glasses with the bottom of his t-shirt. His face was flushed pink in the damp heat of the bus. "Why was he fighting?" he said. I shrugged. There was no telling why Scrappy was fighting. Besides, there were a bunch of other reasons he was in jail, and nobody ever tells me anything. "Gus and Bertha told my mama you were coming. They go to my church, and I gave him a cat one time," Howard said. "A scrawny gay cat that was living underneath my porch." And then he went on and on and on about how Gus taught him how to make a slingshot, and that how sometimes Bertha sells bread and butter pickles by the side of the road in the summer, about how his mama drove her car right into the ditch right beside Gus and Bertha's driveway one time, and Gus pulled it out with a tractor, and they all ate barbecue sandwiches in the front lawn. "You'll like living with them," he said. "I'm not living with them," I told him. "I'm going back to Raleigh." "Oh." He looked down at the freckly hands in his lap. "When?" "When my mama gets her feet off the ground." Oh, how long does that take? I shrugged. Not long. But the knot in my stomach told me that that was a lie, and the worry clutching at my heart told me that my mama might never, ever get her feet on the ground. As the bus pulled out of the parking lot and headed towards town, Harold rattled off a list of school bus rules. No saving seats, no gum, no writing on the back of the seats, no cussing. It was a whole mess of rules that I was pretty sure nobody paid any mind to except for Howard. I looked at the window at the sorry sights of Colby, a gas station, a trailer park, a laundromat. It wasn't much of a town if you ask me. No malls or movie theaters, not even a Chinese restaurant. Before long, the bus was making its way up the mountain. The rain had stopped, and wavy plumes of steam were drifting up the asphalt. The narrow road curved back and forth and round, and every now and then the bus stopped to let some pitiful kid off at a house with a red dirt yard. We were almost to Gus and Bertha's when the bus stopped, and Howard said, "See ya." Another, younger-looking red-headed boy got off with him, and I watched them make their way across the weed-filled house to their yard. Bikes and skateboards and footballs and sneakers were scattered all along the front door, all the way to the road. A garden hose snaked from a dripping faucet to a hole in the yard, and a small, dirty-faced boy was throwing rocks in the hole, sending up splashes of muddy water. Howard waved as the bus pulled away, but I turned my eyes back to that dried-up gum. When we finally got to Gus and Bertha's long gravel driveway, I got off, and I watched the bus drive away, making the rain-soaked Queen Anne's lace bob at the edge of the road. I was starting up the driveway when I noticed something shiny at the dirt near the edge of the road. A penny. I darted over and picked it up, and then I hurled it as far as I could, and I made my wish quick before that penny hit the road and bounced into the woods. There. I had gotten in my wish for the day, and maybe this time it would finally come true. That's the end of Chapter 1 of Wish by Barbara O'Connor. If you'd like to find out what happens next with Charlie and her wishing, come to the library and check it out.